Hey friend, Sean with Guided Productions. I hope you're having an amazing day. Now, when I got my start in video, I was the poster child for fake it till you make it. That's right. I was a sales guy by day, a musician by night, always dreaming of a creative path forward. And by the grace of God, some unexplainable things fell into place, and the next thing I knew, I was editing video professionally for a $250 million tech company. Now, I had no business editing video as a hobby, let alone professionally in corporate America, yet here I was. And too often in that role, I remember my marketing team asking if I could do some new editing thing or make it look like magic on screen. And even if I didn't know what I was doing, which was most of the time, my answer was always the same. Yep. As a chronic sufferer of imposter syndrome, I was convinced that they would figure out I was a fraud, fire me, and hire a real video editor to take my place. And so I just committed to everything and then took it upon myself to learn how to do it as quickly as possible. Now, I wouldn't recommend this for anybody, but it worked for me. Now, one of the things that they asked of me involved shooting in front of a green screen. And while I didn't know how to do it, after filming a high-level employee for an hour or two, I had no choice but to figure it out. So I did what any wise person would do in my shoes, and that was turn to YouTube. Now, many years have passed since that day, but I'll never forget the joy I felt of being able to share the successfully edited green screen footage with my coworkers. And my hope for you is that by the time we're done here today, you too will edit green screen like a pro. Now, what if I told you this entire intro was filmed in front of a green screen? Pretty cool, huh? Let me show you how I did it right inside Premiere. Let's break it down. So here we are inside of Adobe Premiere Pro. I am using version 25.4.0 for those who are interested in that sort of thing, and a couple of housekeeping things. I'm in the editing workspace today, and all I've done so far is pulled in my primary footage. That's what you see here on the top. And then underneath that, I actually have just a static image of my desk. Now, if you're new to editing, I want you to look at the timeline as layers of a cake. So anything that is at the top layer or above anything beneath, you're not going to see what's behind it. So for example, if I toggle this back on, so you can see my primary footage above my desk, that's why we're not seeing the desk back there. If I hide this layer, you are seeing the desk, but just think of it in terms of layers. So what we're trying to do here is cut out everything around me so that all that's left is the desk in the background, and we are going to try to simulate the illusion that I'm actually sitting in front of my desk. Now, fun fact, where I am sitting in my room, I actually am directly in front of my desk. The green screen is just hiding that, but for the purposes of today, it still works. So let's get started. What I like to do first is I like to add a really basic mask around my subject, and part of that is because my green screen doesn't go all the way to the edge of the frame. So I don't want the computer to have to try to figure out how to key out all this other nonsense. I just want to key out what's as close to me as possible, essentially creating a really tight mask. So I will start by just pulling in this opacity mask. I'm just going to do a really rough job here. It does not have to be perfect because again, we are about to do some green screen action. So let's just open this up around my shoulders and we will scrub this real quick just to see if I stay within the confines of my mask. And sure enough, that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's a great start. The next thing we're going to need is the Ultra Key effect. Now, if you're using a different video software, it's probably going to be called something different, but in Premiere, you just go to the search bar in the effects panel and type in Ultra or Ultra Key. You'll notice under video effects, Ultra Key comes right up, and we're going to drag that right on top of our primary footage. All we need to do is take the key color. We need to tell the computer what color we want you to forget. Don't even think about this color. This eyedropper, I can just click it, and you'll notice if you look to the left, keep your eyes over here. As I go on to the green, you're going to see that little box turn green. I can go to the pink on my shirt or the blue, the yellow, and that box is going to turn. That's telling the computer, hey, I want you to forget that color. Don't even register it. Now, we sat in front of a green screen for a purpose, so green is the color we're going to key out. One quick note, under the best circumstances, you're going to want a really flat, really even green screen. In fact, it's actually beneficial to light your green screen behind the subject. What you don't want are wrinkles and shadows like what you can see on my screen. I had this folded up before the video, so we're going to need a little extra work, but that's okay. We can still work with this. So I am going to look for the shade of green that I think is the majority of the screen behind me, and this off to the left looks to be pretty good. So let's just go ahead and click this. And already we're in a really good spot. This is looking good to me so far. There may be some additional cleanup, and I'm going to show you how we'll do that. So back over at the left on the effects panel here, this output is showing composite. If we flip that to alpha channel, I'm going to go to black and white. The goal here is to create as much contrast between your subject, the primary footage, what you want to keep, versus the backdrop, what you're trying to get rid of. So our goal here is to make me as white as possible and the backdrop as black as possible to create a defined separation between the two. Now, underneath the color, we have things like matte generation, matte cleanup, spill suppression, color correction. All of these are tools to help clean up that green screen. I'm actually going to start with the highlight, and you can see if I pull it all the way up to 100, I'm actually pulling in the highlights of the green screen as well, and we don't want that. We want that green screen to go darker. If I go all the way to 0, now I'm starting to pull in some of the pattern of my shirt, and I don't want to lose that information either. So I'll find a kind of a happy balance. Let's go with 45, that feels good, and jump to shadow next. Now I want to pull my shadows down because I'm trying to get that backdrop to be as dark as possible. But once again, if I go all the way to 0, now you're starting to see the patterns of my shirt in there, and I don't want to lose that information. So let's bring that back up to, let's say 20. The pedestal is where I see the biggest difference. As I start to raise that, that backdrop is going to just slowly start to disappear. Again, we're finding data in my shirt, so I'm going to leave this right around, let's go 80% there. Okay. I can get rid of matte generation. Let's go to matte cleanup and look at what some of our options are there. We have a choke. This is what is going to tighten that mask around me. So this will actually start to, if you look at the hair, that's where I see the biggest difference. At 0, hair is fully there. If I pull it all the way up to the 100, that's where it starts to kind of choke in or tighten up that mask. Soften, the same thing. It's going to almost create a feathered look around that choke to blur that line a bit. And then contrast, doing the same thing with separating you from the foreground from the background. So I'm going to put that right at 45%. That feels pretty good. Let's jump back to the composite channel and see what that looks like. So it's looking really good. I just want to take a look at playing some of this back and see if there's anything that sticks out to me. That's looking pretty natural, and I feel pretty happy about that. I purposely muted the audio. You're not hearing the audio. Since we're talking about visuals, I didn't want that to be a distraction. But one other thing that you can do to kind of sell the illusion of this real life image in front of a backdrop, if I were filming this in camera, there would be a shallow depth of field, right? There'd be more of this bokeh look or this blurred out background. So I can grab what's called a Gaussian blur, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I actually had to look up the pronunciation of that word before the video today. This is what it's called in Premiere. I'm not sure what it's called in other video editing softwares, but it's essentially a blur that we're going to drop onto the image here. So again, now I'm on my video track 1. This is my backdrop. I've got one slider for blurriness. Pretty straightforward. If I go way high, that's going to blow things out. That's not what we want to do here. We want to leave it pretty natural. So if I come down, usually in the 25 to 35% range, I feel like it has a good bokeh out effect, a good blurred background where it doesn't look like I faked it too much. So I feel pretty happy with that. I'm actually going to pull it down just a little bit. Let's go 30% and play this back and see what that looks like. I'd say that's pretty successful. So remember, as we're keying out green screen, the only things you need are your primary footage and then a backdrop image or video, either one. You're going to need to use the Ultra Key effect within the effects panel of Adobe Premiere Pro. And then if you really want to sell the look, you can use a Gaussian blur to blur out that background and create some more separation, that shallow depth of field between your primary footage and the image behind you. That's it, my friend. I hope you can film in front of a green screen with confidence, knowing that the edit is just a few clicks away. And the last thing I want to leave you with is my free PDF guide. It's my gift to you for hanging out with me today. It's the 6 steps to creating better video. I walk you through my entire creative process from idea to export to help you every step of the way on your video journey. Just go to guidedproductions.com/bettervideoguide to download your free copy today. Thanks again for hanging out with me, my friend, and I will see you on another video real soon.